Good evening, dear listener. Settle in gently, let your shoulders loosen, and allow the day to grow quiet around you. May this be a soft place to rest for a little while, a calm stretch of time where nothing is required of you except to breathe, listen, and drift. I hope the air around you feels a little warmer, your thoughts a little slower, and your heart a little lighter as this story unfolds. Tonight, you may walk an old path through heather hills at the edge of sunset, where the wind carries a music all its own, and every step leads farther into peace. You come to the old trail just as the day begins to turn golden at the edges. It appears not all at once, but gradually, as though it had been waiting for your eyes to soften before revealing itself. First, there is only the slope of the hill before you, wide and open beneath the late summer sky. And among the grasses and blooming heather, you notice a pale line winding upward, curved by many years of weather and footsteps. It is a narrow path, hardly more than a ribbon pressed through the hillside, old enough to seem less made than remembered. Stones, flattened smooth by time, glimmer here and there along it. The earth is dry on top, but cool below, carrying the deep scent of roots and peat, and the warmth of the day that still lingers in it. You stand for a moment at the foot of the hill and draw a slow breath. The air is fresh and spacious, touched by the sweetness of wild thyme, crushed somewhere underfoot, by sun-warmed grass, by the resinous green of gorse farther down the slope, and by the faint, peppery perfume of heather drifting all around you. Beneath it all is the clean smell of wind itself, if wind can be said to have a smell, a sense of far places, high open ground, and distance. It moves over your face with a cool hand, lifting a strand of your hair, brushing your cheek, and passing on as if it has somewhere ancient to be. Above you, the sky is beginning its long evening change. Near the horizon, it glows with warm amber and rose, and above that, layers of apricot fade into pale green, then into an immense clear blue that is slowly deepening. The clouds are thin and high, brushed lightly across the west like strokes of silver silk. The light of the sun, now lowering behind the farther hills, falls sideways over the land, and every stem and bloom seems outlined in quiet fire. You step onto the trail. There is no hurry in you. That is one of the first gentle miracles of the evening. The path asks nothing except your presence, and so you give it that, You walk with an easy rhythm, hands loose at your sides, your breath falling into time with your steps. You feel no need to arrive anywhere quickly. The old trail is not a road of purpose, but of passage, and it receives you kindly. The heather rises on either side in low mauve swells, a sea of tiny blossoms that nod in the wind. Their color shifts with the light, purple in one moment, dusky pink in another, and in the shadows between the mounds, nearly blue. Bees still work among them in the last patient hour before evening, their hum deep and sleepy. Grasshoppers rustle in the stems. Somewhere farther off, where the land folds downward, a hidden stream makes a sound so soft you almost think you imagined it. The wind returns, and this time it brings its music more clearly. It passes through the heather and long grasses in layered tones, a hush, a whisper, a sigh, a low trembling note where it catches along the dry seed heads, and now and then a delicate shiver when it touches the stalks of taller plants. It is not quite like any instrument, and not quite unlike one either. If you listen without trying too hard, it becomes a tune that has no beginning and no end, only movement. It seems to gather the open sky into sound. It seems to slip between the hills and teach the silence how to sing. You smile without meaning to. There is something wonderfully freeing about being small on a wide hillside in the evening. The world does not close around you here, it opens. The sky is broad, the land stretches far, and your thoughts, which may have seemed crowded elsewhere, begin to loosen and drift apart like clouds after rain. You feel lighter than you did before you came. Not empty, not absent, only unburdened in some simple, difficult to name way. The path curves gradually upward. Behind you, the lower ground softens into fields edged with old stone walls and dark clusters of trees. Ahead, the hills roll one beyond another, each touched with the faded purple of heather and the green-brown of late summer grass. Some are smooth and open, some crossed by worn sheep tracks, some broken by outcrops of weathered rock that glow bronze in the slanting light. In the far distance, beyond the last rise, there is a shimmer that may be water catching the sunset, or only the bright haze of evening over the valley. You keep walking, and the earth beneath your boots feels steady and reassuring. Now and then, the trail narrows where heather leans across it, brushing your calves with tiny cool blossoms. Once you step over a root as twisted as old rope, silvered by age. Once you pass a flat stone set at the side of the path, half hidden in grass, its surface carved long ago by rain and likened into patterns that resemble a map of some forgotten country. This old trail has carried many feet before yours, you think, and perhaps that is why it feels so certain of itself. It knows how to go on. It knows how to wind through weather, through seasons, through years. A skylark, late to its own evening, rises suddenly from the slope ahead and lifts into the amber light. Its song spills downward in quick silver notes, astonishingly bright against the deepening hush. You stop instinctively to watch it climb, higher and higher, until it is only a moving point against the soft bands of the sky. Then it dips, wheels, and disappears somewhere beyond the heather sea, leaving the wind to continue the song in its gentler tongue. You walk on. The scent of the hillside changes as the air cools. The sweetness of the blooms remains, but it is joined now by something clearer and greener, the sharp herbal breath of yarrow, the dry hay-like smell of sun-cured grass, the faint minty trace of wild herbs hidden low among the roots. If you brush against the plants at the edge of the trail, their fragrance rises more strongly, as if evening had warmed them from within, and now the wind is coaxing their secrets free. At one bend in the path, where the ground levels for a little while, you slow and reach down. Your fingers drift over the top of the heather, and at once you feel the texture of it. Springy stems, tiny clustered flowers, the softness of bloom over a wiry, living strength. The tips are cool from the wind, though the lower branches still hold a trace of the day's heat. A few petals cling lightly to your skin. When you rub them between your fingertips, the scent that rises is subtle and earthy, floral, but also wild, as though the plant has kept in itself the memory of rain, stone, and open moorland. You let your hand move across the tops of the blossoms, and they bow and rise again behind it, like water disturbed by a passing boat. The simple touch deepens the evening. It makes you feel even more here, more part of the hillside and its quiet life. There is no separation between your hand and the plant, between your breath and the moving air, between the path underfoot and the motion of your own body. You are not crossing the land so much as joining it for a little while. As the trail climbs again, the wind grows stronger on the higher ground. It does not push you or trouble you. Instead, it the warmth left from the day and the coolness arriving with evening meet pleasantly on your face and arms. You feel awake, but in a peaceful way, not bright with effort, but open with ease. Soon you come to a place where the hill falls away on one side and the path runs along a gentle ridge. Here you stop. It feels natural to stop here, as though the land itself meant for this moment to happen. Before you, the view opens with such quiet grandeur that your breath slows further just to take it in. Beyond the nearest slopes, the country rolls outward in long layers. Heather hills fade into grassy ridges, ridges into valleys touched with gold mist, valleys into distant blue shapes at the edge of sight. A narrow river catches the sun in one place and becomes a thread of pale fire. Far off farm roofs blink copper red among dark stands of trees. The whole world seems both immense and tender, held under the great bowl of evening sky. You stand very still. The wind moves around you and through you, carrying the smell of herbs and dry grass and flowering heather. It tugs lightly at your sleeves, then streams on toward the west, where the sun is now lowered halfway behind a far line of hills. The sky there has deepened into glowing bands of peach, coral, and molten gold, while higher above, the blue is turning richer, touched already with the first faint thought of violet. The undersides of the clouds burn with soft pink light, and their edges shine as if dusted with pearl. In this wide and luminous hush, you feel an almost childlike freedom. Nothing chases you. Nothing demands an answer. You are simply a traveler on an old path at the hour when day loosens its hold and evening begins to gather all things gently inward. And yet, standing there, looking into the vastness, you do not feel small in a lonely way. You feel small in the comforting way a leaf feels beneath a tree, or a star reflected in still water. You belong to something spacious. You are carried by it. For a long while, you only watch. The colors shift almost invisibly. Gold softens into honey, honey into rose, rose into a dusky glow that lingers along the horizon. Shadows stretch longer through the folds of the hills and fill the hollows with cool blue-gray. The heather close around you darkens from mauve to plum. A line of birds crosses the distance, heading home, their wings catching and releasing the last bright light. Then, from somewhere not quite near and not quite far, you hear a bell. It is a a small sound, delicate as a drop of silver falling through the air. Once and then again after a pause. Perhaps it is from a sheep grazing beyond the next rise. Perhaps from a gate moved by the wind. But the sound has such clarity in the open evening that it feels almost enchanted, like a note struck by the hill itself. The wind seems to take it up and carry it across the slope, blending it into its long murmuring song. You listen, and something in the moment grows softly strange, though never frightening. The old trail beneath your feet seems older still, and for an instant you have the lovely sensation that you are walking not only through a place, but through layers of time. The people who once knew this path, the shepherds, wanderers, berry gatherers, quiet souls who crossed the hills before dusk, feel close in a kindly way, as if they have left behind not footsteps, but a mood, a trust, a way of moving through open land without resistance. You imagine them pausing as you do now, lifting their faces to the wind, watching the sky burn down into evening. Perhaps the hill remembers them. Perhaps that is why the path feels warm with welcome. The bell sounds once more, then is gone. You do not go searching for it. Some things are sweeter when they remain partly hidden. So you breathe in the spacious air once again. Let the view settle in your chest like a calm light, and then begin to walk on. The trail leads you along the ridge and gently downward into a shallow hollow, sheltered from the stronger breeze. Here the air is warmer and full of late summer scents gathered together in the bowl of the land. You smell crushed clover, damp moss near a stone, and a faint honeyed note where small yellow flowers still bloom among the grasses. Midges dance in a slant of amber light, glowing like dust from a dream. The hush in this hollow feels deeper, as if sound itself has lowered its voice out of respect. At its center lies a pool no wider than a room, fed perhaps by rain and hidden springs. You had not expected it, and yet it seems entirely right that it should be here. The water is still except where the wind barely troubles one side. It reflects the evening sky so perfectly that for a moment it looks like a piece of the heavens laid gently into the earth. Around its edges, soft rushes lean inward, and tiny white flowers drift near the bank. One dragonfly, all bronze and glass, hovers above the surface and then vanishes into the shadows of the grass. You kneel beside the pool, and trail your fingers in the water. It is cool enough to startle, but only pleasantly. Small rings spread outward, breaking the reflection of coral cloud into wavering ribbons. The scent here is fresh and mineral, mixed with the green wetness of moss and the dry sweetness of the hill beyond. When you lift your hand, droplets cling briefly to your skin before the wind takes them. You watch the ripples widen, reach the edge, and quietly disappear. And it seems to you that thoughts can do the same when given room. Expand, soften, and finally become still. You sit back on your heels for a little while and simply exist in the hush. The soft, mystical feeling of the evening gathers around you, not dramatic, not sharp, but delicate and certain. It is in the way the pool holds the sky, in the way the wind lowers itself to a whisper at the hollow's rim, in the way the heather on the surrounding slopes glows dimly, as if lit from within by the memory of the sun. It is in the sense that the land is awake in a quiet, ancient way, aware of your presence and content to let you share its solitude. When at last you rise and continue, the trail seems somehow clearer. Twilight is approaching, but not yet near enough to hide the way. The path gleams pale ahead, a steady curve threading between purple mounds and silvered grasses. You follow it with the same gentle pace, your body pleasantly warmed from walking and cooled by the wind. The combination leaves you with that rare feeling of perfect balance. Each breath tastes clean. Each step feels simple. Lightness settles through you not only in mood, but in movement, as if the hill has quietly taken some unseen weight from your shoulders. A few stars begin to think of appearing in the east, though the west still glows. You climb one last rise, and there the world opens again, wider than before. From this higher place, you can see the old trail stretching behind you over the hills, like a faint memory written on the land. The route you have taken no longer looks narrow. It looks graceful, inevitable, full of patient curves. Ahead, it disappears beyond a shoulder of darkening heath, inviting without insisting. You pause once more and turn slowly in a full circle. Every direction offers some quiet wonder. To the west, the final light pours low and radiant through the distant haze, making the far valleys shine. To the north, shadowed slopes gather in gentle folds, their outlines softened into blue. To the east, the first cool star pricks through the deepening sky. To the south, a long line of old stones runs over a hilltop like the spine of some sleeping earth creature, half hidden in grass and time. The wind rises around you again, and now its music is richer, lower, almost like many voices humming from far away. It slips through the heather, over the stones, across the open ground, and around your stillness. You close your eyes for a moment and listen. There are harmonies in it you had not heard before: the dry rattle of seed heads, the soft brushing of grass blades, the airy whistle across a hollow in the rocks, the distant rustle of wings as a bird settles for the night. Together they make a lullaby large enough for the whole hillside. Without opening your eyes, you lay your hand once more on the heather beside you. Its blossoms are cooler now. The stems move gently beneath your palm, and the sensation is so small and real that it roots you in the present instant with great tenderness. You feel the earth below, firm and old. You feel the wind above, ungraspable and free. Between those two, you are exactly where you need to be. When you open your eyes, the sunset has softened toward afterglow. The sky is no longer bright gold, but a tender blend of fading rose, lavender, and pale green near the horizon, deepening upward into a calm indigo blue. The colors are quieter now, but in some ways even more beautiful for that. They do not call for admiration. They simply are, and that is enough. The hills answer them by darkening gracefully into velvety shapes. The heather becomes a low, dusky shimmer around the trail. The first evening chill begins to thread through the air, carrying with it the scent of cooling stone and night-blooming herbs hidden among the grasses. You resume your walk, not because you must, but because continuing feels as natural as breathing. The old trail leads downward, then outward over a broad, open shoulder of land where the wind has a clear run, and the horizon seems very far away. Here your steps grow quieter on the softer ground. Rabbits flicker at the edges of sight and vanish into cover. A moth, pale as moonlit paper, crosses the path before you. The whole hill seems to be settling into rest, but it does so without heaviness. Rather, there is a gracious easing, a long exhale after the bright hours of day. And as the evening settles, so do you. The thoughts that remain in you are simple ones. The scent of time, the warmth of the sun still stored in the stones, the color of the sky reflected in the small pool, the sound of the distant bell, the silk-soft brush of heather against your fingers, the feeling of standing on the ridge singing around you, and the wide country opening in every direction. These things gather inside you like smooth pebbles placed in a pocket, not to weigh you down, but to reassure you with their presence. Eventually, the trail bends toward a low rise crowned by a lone hawthorn, twisted and graceful against the dim sky. You go to it and sit at its base, where the grass is dry and the earth still faintly warm. From here, you can see the western horizon one last time. The sun is gone now, but its memory remains as a band of luminous amber fading slowly into pearl. Above, the first true stars have appeared, quiet and unhurried. The wind moves through the hawthorn leaves with a small papery sound, while across the hills, the heather continues its whispered song. You lean back and let your gaze rest on the broadening dusk. There is no need to count time here. The evening is enough. The old path is somewhere behind and before you, continuing over the hills as it always has. But for now, you are content simply to sit beside it, part of its long stillness. You feel relaxed in the deepest sense, not only body at ease, but spirit unfastened, free in the mild, open way of cloud shadow moving over grass, free in the way the wind is free, never grasping, never held, always passing gently onward. The scents of the hillside grow subtler as the air cools, but they do not vanish. Heather remains soft and dusky. Wild thyme lingers in the ground. Dry grass, moss, and stone keep their quiet places in the night. Breathing them in, you feel again that clean spaciousness within your chest, as if the hills have lent you some of their own room. Soon, the sky above becomes a deeper blue, and the stars multiply. They appear not all at once, but one by one, as though the evening is laying them there carefully for your comfort. The wind, too, quiets little by little, until its music becomes a low, continuous murmur, a distant, tender thing. It is enough to know it is there, enough to hear it carry on over the heather and between the folds of the land, keeping watch where no one asks it to. You sit in that calm until the last trace of daylight thins. By then, the hills are dark shapes around you, and the path is only a pale suggestion threading through them. Yet, nothing feels lost. The trail is still there. The heather is still there. The open country is still breathing under the stars, vast and patient and kind. And you, traveler of the evening, are still held by it. At last you rise, slowly and easily, as though the hillside itself has taught your body the art of gentleness. You place one hand on the rough trunk of the hawthorn in quiet thanks, then turn once more toward the old path. Its pale line is visible enough to guide you, and your feet know now how to trust it. So you begin to walk again, softly beneath the first stars, with the wind's lullaby moving through the heather at your side. And as you go, the night opens before you like a calm